Yo, so let me start off this thing right. I realized there's a video that came out yesterday, which is Friday the 17th. Yeah. What's interesting about that is the number one Nissan hater in the country highlighted something. Did you all realize that Christine Kangaloo is holding back some secrets from Trinidad and Tobago? Did you also realize that she has some very interesting bedfellows, along with how much her husband makes, along with certain things that she told the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, as in the present one right now? Now, the reason I'm highlighting this to you guys, this same Christine Kangaloo was the one who whispered in the ear of Kamla Persad in regards to transport woes and errant drivers last year, because she lost two of her siblings to car accidents, as in vehicular collisions. Yeah, that is one. Two, did you all really ever observe when Miss Kangaloo realized that Miss Delcy and Kamla were mincing it up? She was the first to up and bounce out of the country and go to Barbados and Miami. Or is it the other way around? But I definitely know, I confirmed it's Barbados is one of them. Did you also realize that the individual that has been caught on multiple occasions having dangerous liaisons, even though he's married, he was also wanted for attempted murder about one Dillion Johnson? He also decided to hand in his paperwork and realized, nah boy, I out of this shippiness. Yes, and he was arrested in Atlanta for literally having underage intercourse with a person of the same sex. This is just something highlighting. You know why I'm doing that right now? And it is without apology. You all having 9-day memory syndrome is affecting Trinidad and Tobago a lot. So check this. Miss Kamla Persad, there was a young man, I think it was 42 years old, not a Trinidadian, came from Guyana, was a very big supporter of you. Why don't you say how much money he gave to your regime, being that he was a fraudster? Why don't you say that, Miss Bissessa? He was murdered from a 24-year-old lady who likes only millionaires around her. Why aren't you speaking about that, Miss Bissessa? Very interesting, isn't it? Miss Kangaloo, why aren't you mentioning you're very good friends with a certain water company owner? Very interesting also, isn't it? Right. That's just 2 points I'm highlighting to you guys. Miss Kamla Persad, why aren't you highlighting why you didn't give anybody from Carney 1975 Limited land that living from Shagona side and from Kelly Village side? They gave everybody from the south side land, didn't you? Why aren't you saying that you were caught in a wrong stand-up in land that is on Carney Savannah Road? And furthermore, you brought in Junior Sammy group of companies at the point in time to actually assist in the situation. And from that happening, definitely you didn't tell the man that it was illegal land she was going to work on. Miss Bissessa, you're being a stinking dirty piece of shit. Hopefully you don't realize that you're a jamet as yet before you swallow that vodka and Sprite again. Now, with that being said, it's interesting. Let's highlight another point. Little boys and senators definitely have a relationship in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, I can say that. Ah, yes. Let's get to 3 names in particular. There's the one who looks like a female, and he's in opposition right now. Now, he is very interesting because he's very good friends with somebody, or was good friends with somebody called Ken Bally. What's interesting about that is, yes. What's also interesting about that is there's a government minister now who's very much wanting to be important in his own head, because he's clearly not. He was also very good friends with Mr. Valley. Now, with that being said, our Attorney General is suffering the same fate of having cronyism and nepotism definitely up his anus. So with that being said, how could this now minister in the opposition, now our current Attorney General, also this interesting person that definitely is not alive anymore, all implicated in the murder and sodomy about one Akil Chambers. Yes, I'm talking the things, but yeah, you pay hundreds of thousands to quiet your name, man. But I'll talk about those things, you stinking sodomite pedophile. Right. What's another thing we have to discuss? Did you all realize that Mr. Jeremy's son is heading a very big position now? Yeah, Tech. Did you all remember Colum Inwood's son? Yeah, that little sodomite Adrian. Do you all remember when he lost his phone? And B-Mobile literally cut the whole network to find it because his boyfriend was arguing with him up in the Laventille Hill area. It was a Tuesday, I never forgot. Because a certain man who on radio got, I think it was a 2-week suspension or a week and a half suspension, for talking about it with me on Slam. Yeah, I talk any things. I want you all to know what liars are. So you see all these interesting individuals who suck the bottoms of politicians and forget things were transpiring. There's something about court you should know, and certain lawyers. It have certain lawyers that are indulging in little boys and pay families handsomely to make people forget about situations. So it's interesting when you're seeing people taking their evidence books out of Range Rovers and stuff, when only a month and a half ago you were soliciting a young man in a gym. And this is not no word of mouth or hearsay, this is facts. So why does this handsome PNM lawyer happen to be indulging in underage boys, is now a lawyer belonging to the case of the Hadids? Yes, I talk in the things. It's also interesting. So, how it is that two fired former UNC senators, one of them, he was not involved in the finance ministry in any format, but sending over an entire suitcase of US currency, when this is about a month and a half before Miss Nunes Teixeira pulled her money out of FCB. All these things that I'm talking are not hearsay, you know. It's things that actually happened. So within that also being said, these former UNC ministers that are now lawyers, it's interesting. How come when this transpired that a certain former minister was caught beating his wife on multiple occasions, he's now a big Queen's Counsel and a great lawyer if you want to win cases. This once again is not hearsay, but what's interesting, when her funeral was going on, many people in the funeral saying how he could show his face, aka white beater, aka goat fucker. Notice I'm not calling his name, and Trinidad and Tobago knows exactly who I'm talking about. You see, when you're using law, it's interesting. You don't award yourself silk, but you could go in detour, which is owned by certain people, and buy silk. Other than that also, how many times has one sodomite highlighted himself to just be a bacchanal making person in Trinidad and Tobago thus far. I'm sure that Jillian John doesn't want to hear her name anymore called from this individual. And with that also being said, what I'm going to highlight is some definite lies that a certain batty man from Tobago is trying to cover up. A 1800 gram of powdered milk should never be $200. Chicken parts, as in your Pilau pack or your Calypso pack, should never be $80. Tell me that I'm lying again publicly. Let me tell them about your nice lifestyle, you sodomite. Furthermore, don't mistake me for anybody else. I bring it real and I'll cuff you in your face verbally. And furthermore, if you want it to happen physically, not a problem. But anytime you're defending horse shit, make sure I have a stable and make sure I have a pooping shovel to pick up all this shit that you're talking. Because me, I don't stutter and I don't hold back my words, especially for those who don't like our country but like putting their head between their legs and taking something else. Do you hear what I'm saying, Mr. Crack? Mr. Lyndon Mack? Right. And last but not least, Jillian, you know you're also from Tobago, right? I'm not the only person seeing it. Why are you acting like how you're acting? You know how much lies that people trying to paint over as narratives as if the truth is happening in Trinidad and Tobago right now? Every time you tell a lie and you try to protect, it always comes out. The interesting thing about that is that when it's at the anniversary dinner and so forth, you have to run and prop her up, as in prop up the Prime Minister from not falling down. It's very interesting. Which is the sturdy Prime Minister and who's really the clown? You have to ask yourself that question, because right now the acting is far better than anything Hollywood could put out. And the bad thing about it, as somebody rightfully said, the same hater of all Nissan vehicles. Definitely, what's going on? He brought up a very nice phrase. And I think that's a code name or code trademark, in fact I should say, that phrase. You have an OJT government trying to be leaders. You know what's interesting about that is? He's right. You know nothing about leadership, but all you know how to do is cause comments. I can say that because, trust me, your interactions with Mr. Marcel recently in Parliament, also with the things that you said about the TNTech office in Cuba, said a lot about your intelligence and really what your intent is. You know what's also interesting? When you arrest somebody, the thing about it, there's something called evidence, which is kind of important. And I know about this type of shit firsthand because the TTPS have a lot of assholes that work for them that like to usually plant evidence on people after they get arrested. And I didn't stutter. Now the thing about this is, the people who do that, definitely karma have a very interesting way of paying them back. So when you're a government and you're doing this to people, what are the chances, just like how those tires were screeching on the asphalt, you're getting no grip in regards to the guiltiness that you're trying to put on innocent people. So with that being said, it doesn't matter the amount of money that somebody has and you're trying to make them look guilty. What's very interesting though is when you don't care about people and you literally are spending millions to make sure that they are guilty when nothing's even remotely even happening as yet. So with that being said, when you try to get contracts and try to close down somebody's business because you want your friends to get contracts and you think that somebody else has a different stature in Trinidad and Tobago because of ethnicity, that's one of the stupidest things to say and do in the public diaspora. Now, with that being said, do you really think that the Sani has a market share like Blue Waters in the Caribbean? Right. I'm highlighting this for a reason, because somehow these asses always run about thinking that horses are the only ones in the stable. Don't let that go over your head now. So with that being said, there's something interesting going on in this country for a long time. When you're a prime minister, you usually have to address the nation, especially in regards to correspondence when crime is going on. So calling us a lawless dump repeatedly when you are lying to the nation on so much occasions that even the US, I repeat, the US military is making out a prime minister for being a pathological liar. So this lawless dump that somehow finds marijuana via radar systems with boats with no engines, make it make sense to me. Also, whenever you take money to fund a political party, how is it that the individuals who seemingly give you $20 million just happen to be dead on Friday the 13th? Also, how it is that every single person that keeps on giving you finance, and furthermore, things that are transpiring in Trinidad and Tobago, when the public asks questions, they get ignored and insulted. Yet, you have your local, regional corporation head in Japan with her son and saying, no, it's not public funds using to make him rich there. It's very interesting. The compounded lies is so blatant. It's just as rain falling on the mountain and telling everybody, yeah, the sun is shining. It's getting very annoying. Your blatant lies and disrespect to Trinidad and Tobago for your personal gain. So I'll leave you all with this because it should shock you. So how is Christian going? Yes, the individual who has the shop who was never on the flight itinerary, but then he was on the itinerary after Wednesday past and people from Piaco International Airport sold you out. How is Rishmi going? Yes, the girl with the fake, all the fake credentials that you brought back in the government because she's one of your lovers in the past that you love so much. You made sure and change her name to get her in the SAS as the head. I talk any things then because the nation is tired of you doing many things. So yo, keep in mind that karma is a hell of a bitch. So keep on drinking your vodka and Sprite and carrying hairdressers to New York and having a man who claims that a child is from his own loins when he really hates seeing vaginas in any format. With that being said, makes no sense. As usual, Trinidad and Tobago afternoon. I love you guys. Deuces.